All right, we are here again. Please make sure you guys share the mess out of this video. Make sure you tell everybody that if you've been waiting on justice being live on Facebook, this is it right here. This is the Justice for Oakley stream. And listen, the movement has begun. So we have our precious dear Jamie. Say hi, Jamie.
Good morning.
All right, and also we have to her left,
Howard Bunda.
all right, to her right,
Vanessa Rogers.
and also again,
Jerry Small.
all right, and all of these wonderful people have phenomenal, life-changing stories to share. And so we're going to start off with Miss Jamie. She's going to share kind of where we are, what we're doing, and then we're going to hear from the other stories to let you all know that you are not alone in your pursuit for justice.
Good morning. We're here today. Everyone has been following the story and how we got here. And now we want everybody to have a voice. And because it's become so much bigger than Justice for Oakley. And so everyone wants to share their story and get help.
Now, are you sure? Now, I know there's a better way we could have done this, though, Jamie. I mean, I'm sure the court system would have listened to us. The attorneys would have listened to us. They're public servants, right?
Yes, but now this is where you end up when you go to all the powers that be that are supposed to help you and do the right thing and do what's in the best interest of children and families and people in general, and they won't. And so you have no other choice. You either go away or you fight.
My goodness. All right. So, where are we right now? I know we have the rally coming up, or the movement on Thursday, which is a hearing, correct? We'll talk again about that and just tell the people who want to be engaged in that what they need to do.
Okay, Kevin has a hearing on Thursday in St. Clair County Courthouse in Judge Tomlinson's courtroom. It's a motion to terminate the PPO that he is recently incarcerated in, that they issued a bench warrant for, which has never happened with any of the PPOs in the last 3.5 years. They actually had the Sheriff's Department driving all over, staking out our houses, pulling over our family, looking for Kevin for 4 days.
So what did he do? Did he pull a tag off a pillow? What did he do? What was the illegal activity he did?
It was a conversation that grown adults voluntarily injected themselves into on social media in a group, and when it went south for one person and didn't make her look that good, she went and filed for a PPO, and it was granted by Judge Lane ex parte. And here we are. And there's a little more to that, but he is incarcerated for Facebook posts, which is freedom of speech, and he is protected under that, and they don't care. He literally is sitting in jail again over Facebook conversations, and he didn't even make the comment that offended this person. And the thing is we all voluntarily put ourselves into these conversations, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And so when we were offended because we were being told we were lying about Larry in the Woods and Oakley's interaction, and when they were spewing lies about Kevin's record and how he signed off custody for child support and all this crazy stuff, yeah, we were offended, very upset, and yeah, we wanted to put the truth out there, but I don't have time for that in the situation. But we didn't go ask for a PPO.
Wow.
And so, and then I can tell you that Kevin's even had threats of physical harm and death at this point, and he's denied PPOs. So
He's been threatened?
Oh yeah, I have it with me today. But we'll get to that later, we're good. Yeah, and he's denied PPOs. So that's why we're here.
Goodness gracious. All right. If you would introduce yourself again and tell your story.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Rogers. Mine involves a long story, but a corruption in both family court and criminal matters. I left a long marriage. I'm a domestic violence victim survivor. I left after I was granted an ex parte PPO right away after he pulled a gun out. He then later hired Dana Vandrew, and that's when the corruption began with Judge Lane. I wasn't allowed to speak in a courtroom. Only my ex and his side was, you know, his attorney. My attorneys were always shut down. I've had more than one attorney. I was always threatened with, they were going to put the need for PPO on me because they didn't like if I posted something online.
Wait a minute. You were the victim.
Yes, I'm the victim.
You were the victim.
I was treated like a criminal in her room.
But you were the victim.
Yes.
And you were the one trying to get help.
Yes.
And you were being told how you could operate and how you could.
Everywhere when I got no help, I was let down by police. I was let down by a prosecutor. I was let down by victims' rights coordinator. Just everywhere. Everybody protected him. And
Why do you think that was?
What's that?
Why do you think that was?
The corruption. Yeah. It's like it spread. It sounds unbelievable, but it went from, you know, a judge, an attorney, to a police chief, it just spread everywhere.
Wow.
His attorney was allowed to assert lies every motion. We were allowed to defend them. I even pulled a PPO violation hearing on him, and because the police wouldn't do anything. And there was actually I felt like it was like the judge warning me, like, don't ever, because it turned into I was being yelled at at his PPO violation hearing. Yeah.
What does that mean when you say that you weren't allowed to defend? Because Jamie said that again, and I was thinking.
To speak in the courtroom, she only allowed his attorney, which she worked corruptly with.
Well, see, in Jamie's situation, I know the reason why they weren't allowed to speak simply because they didn't have an attorney. Then she said, no, wait a minute, we had an attorney. I said, wait a minute. So they silenced.
Yes.
And okay, so you're saying that what happened?
Even my attorneys, I've been threatened contempt, and so is my attorney for trying, you know, properly make record or defend.
For trying to do their jobs.
Yes, they were allowed to do their job.
So now this all happened in North Korea, right?
Right.
This wasn't because not in a place with a constitution and you have freedom of speech and right to due process, right? All the things that we are.
And I've had a social media ban on me. I posted an article they complained about in the courtroom, and at the time I was very ashamed, so I didn't speak much about my situation. I have a voice now. I'm an open book. So I want no one else to go through this.
Wow.
I have a murder-suicide story, a local one, the Marysville one. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I shared that online because I related to it. I really didn't say much about it, just that it, you know, hit close to me. And I shared an article, I think it's the same one you did, judicial bias. Well, next thing you know, I had a social media ban, and maybe my attorney's like, you can't do that. So he called the ACLU, and we actually had reporters coming. That's when, of course, they vacated it because it would expose them. I'm like, oh man, I wish, because I wanted to, nobody was helping me. But my later, and I'm still going through the system, okay? I call it legal abuse. I could have been divorced in 60 days. Maybe almost a year, 9 months, 10 months, but him and his attorney, they keep things open, you know what I mean? So it's never closed.
Right.
It's just like, it's a nightmare. But after Judge Lane ended up amending the PPO, she allowed him to have daily access to my yard. And that's when...
Allowed who? Your ex?
He wasn't my ex at the time.
Okay.
But
you had a PPO.
Realize, yes, that, and he called a termination hearing. He was trying to remove the whole PPO, and I was scared. And I stated, you know, our history of our marriage, and he pulled the gun out. She amended to allow him, because she said he didn't work in the pole barn, it was a manipulation. So that's when his harassment and stalking, you know, ramped up. You can't do that with a stalker.
And you had records of that, and you had records of stalking, you had all that.
Yes.
Now make sure you guys are sharing the mess out of this so that other people can get engaged in this and understand what's going on, because this is probably your story, but you're probably under the threat of fear or what have you. And we're trying to open up this channel so that you know that, listen, there are people that will support you and help you through this process.
And then about a month after she amended it I'm an open book, I don't care, I know what he did. He said he always instilled the fear of me that he was with Dana Vandrew, I wasn't going to be left with anything, which I learned. That's the one thing he told the truth. So he told me that he would finally be civil for my kids for the divorce. And people wouldn't understand that my kids are minors, but still, and I was afraid of him, but I thought, okay, make it less for my kids. Well, I think I still let my guard down. So he, there was a whole week, a lot of awful events happened that week to me, but he insisted, he did text me, there's proof, I have a lot of proof, that he was going to change my oil in my driveway. And I texted back, I actually had somewhere to go, and said no. I don't remember the whole text, but no, I'm getting my own oil change. I act like I had an appointment, but I didn't. But
just out of fear.
He was very adamant, though, very adamant. And I felt something just wasn't, you know what I mean? I always change your oil. So he did change my oil, and then not too many days after that, and I was afraid in the house. I was panicking. I knew I should have trusted my gut instinct. But he flew away not too many days later to Florida. And that's what makes me sick. He's posting pictures of smiling. But this is a car that he knew both my son and I were sharing. My son's truck was always breaking down and he needed it for work. Yeah. And even that week. About a month after that, my brakes they almost went out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the roadway. And so I took it to at the time my brother said take it out of Oaklei Township. There was police corruption there going on. So I took it to another local place near there and found out that a foreign fluid was put in my master cylinder to cause my brakes to go out.
So he
right
tried
away,
to kill you.
Yes, and there's plenty of evidence.
And you reported all this?
Yes, and I called, so I had been in contact with a local sheriff deputy because actually that's when my second attorney that I just had hired had put the PPO, violation, and they had picked him up. He actually just flown back, and they picked him up for that on a bench warrant on that. Sheriff, I was very nervous because I had been let down by a lot of other policemen. And I kept saying, because he's a manipulator too, please don't, let him fool you, this and that. And he said he was smarter than that, whatever. I need a lot of evidence, the foreign fluid, the tax. And he actually subpoenaed his whole phone when he was in jail overnight. And as the weeks grew on, first he was very, don't know if he was actually qualified to handle an investigation like that, but he seemed very, like on my side and worried about my safety and that. In fact, he was always telling me you need to go stay at the shelter, whatever. And I didn't because I had my son. And then weeks later, he started getting more quiet. And then I just knew something was up. And in the beginning, he said, act like he was going to try to do all he could to make the appropriate charge. And then weeks later, I was told that there's just too much data on the phone disk to go through.
So they got his phone. They said, well, it's too much work.
Yeah, before they're stalling from, there's so much on there, we're gonna go through, we're gonna get them. Then later on stalling, so-and-so's on vacation. Yeah.
But this is about your safety.
Yes.
And again, are you guys sharing? Make sure you're sharing. Everybody who's watching this, please share this because you need to know that there are certain places you can't go for help in certain situations. All right.
And he said there was too much information to go through, and we only store these discs for so long. They take up a lot of room. But you have to realize my frame of mind because I was in fear. So you know what I mean?
You were a victim.
Yeah.
You were in a victim's
going on.
mindset. I
had PTSD and then going through court, being bullied. I mean, Judge Lane was horrible to me, screaming and yelling at me. So I had all this going on, living in fear, But then I knew a little bit like something's not right. So and before he was very communicative with me in the beginning, he would call me, and he grew quiet. And then when he told me about the phone, I'm like, something doesn't seem right, it just hit me. And I asked, and I said, are you sure somebody else shouldn't be handling the investigation? Like, I was trying to say it in a nice way, not to insult him, like the state police or something. And that's when he screamed and yelled at me on the phone.
My goodness. And
said he's spent more time than he ever has in any other case. He spent 12 hours on it.
And who was that?
Sheriff Phil.
That was the sheriff doing it.
Yeah, a sheriff deputy.
Well, look, stay right there. Hold that note. Put a pen right there.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to come back to it. So we have gotten an introduction to Vanessa's situation, and I'm telling you, listen, we're going to do a series on yours.
Okay.
A full docu-series on that, if we would. Introduce yourself, love. Share.
I'm Jerry Sma, and my situation is a little bit different in the aspect of mine came about after the loss of my son in a car accident.
Okay.
He has a child with a young lady that he had been with for 8 years. After losing him and not having visitations with my grandson, it was a little bit difficult. What she did is we stayed involved. I had been involved the entire time with my grandson and with my son and with her and her daughter from a previous relationship. I never treated her daughter any differently. She was one of my grandchildren. She called me Mama J, just the same as my grandson did. After the death of my son, I continued to try to keep the relationship solid. She would come over to our home 3, 4, 5 times a week for dinners, that sort of thing. I was picking my grandson up from the bus stop, which I had done prior to losing my son, while she had to work, and bringing him to my home. He would come and stay for overnight visits. He was very involved. We were very involved with him. I reached out to her. I tried to explain to her that her loss was different than my loss. I lost a child. She lost her spouse or a significant other. I respected her. I reached out to her multiple times, if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. I thought that we were doing very well with the healing process and keeping everything, together and intact, which would have been what my son would have wanted. In January, I started noticing her distancing herself, so I sent her a text message, and asked her what was going on. She replied with, she didn't like the wording on the headstone. The wording on the headstone simply states, loving son, brother, and dad. Her argument with that is that I put her son last, and for that, I would not have any contact with my grandson until I literally fixed my F up that is literally written in stone, was her exact words. I waited a little bit, tried to reach out to her. There was a few other text messages back and forth corresponding. Hers are nasty, bitter, hurtful. Mine just basically trying to come back at her with understanding and, look, you're angry, I get it, but you're lashing out at the wrong person. I'm in your corner. I will always be in your corner. You and the kids are my #1 priority. We'll get through this. She completely pulled visitation from me, and I continued to text message, phone calls. She never once told me that I was, to stay away from her or the children. If I asked for him, she would tell me she had plans, they're busy. When can I see him? When it's convenient for me, was her response. So I backed off. For 2 weeks, I made no phone calls, no text messages, absolutely nothing. 2 weeks go by. Out of the blue, she messages me and asks me, hey, I have to work tonight at 9. Do you want Trenton until 9? I immediately said yes. She brought him to my home. He stayed until she got out of work. When she came there to pick him up, he didn't want to leave. And of course he had school, so he had to leave. He left with her, and he wasn't feeling very well, so I had asked her the next day, how's he feeling? She had messaged and said, like crap. And I asked her if she was going to take him in, and she said that she was going to wait and see how he was feeling. And things kind of seemed to go back to, we were being civil again, and I thought that everything was okay. Then I asked for him to come over for dinner, and I was told that they were busy, they had plans, I invited all of them. And then I continued, to ask for him, and I was continuously told no. So that went on until March. This was in February that had started. And mind you, this is literally 4 months after the loss of my son. I went to my grandson's bus stop, which I had done multiple times. Bus driver waved to me, she knew who I was. She had no issues with me being there, which is 2 blocks away from their home. I simply gave him a hug and told him that I loved him and that I missed him, and I asked about him. And I left it at that, sent him on his way. He went home, and a couple hours later I received a phone call from the Port Huron City Police stating that they received a complaint and asking me where I was this afternoon. So I explained to them what I did and why I had done it, and she said, okay, well, the mother wants you to have no contact, so you are deceased contact at this time. Okay. I didn't think anything of it. I figured that's the end of it, now I'll just sit and wait.
The mother just say no contact, no just cause?
No just cause.
And that was how long ago?
That was that was March of 2017. My son had passed away in a car accident in October of 2016. So March, and I go to the bus stop. I received the phone call from the police department telling me she's stated that she does not want me near her child and I'm deceased doing so. Okay, I let it go. Didn't think much of it. Couple days later, I'm served at home with a PPO. Deputy shows up to my door and serves me this PPO, and I literally looked him dead in the face and laughed, because I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that this would be upheld.
So let me make sure I'm clear, all right? No cause. Somebody calls you, says no contact.
Yes.
All right, and then 48 hours or so later,
yes,
you get PPO.
Yes, sir.
And no conversation with nobody, no dialogue, no nothing, no. Okay, and this is against your children or your grandchildren?
My grandchildren, yes.
And you threatened them, you said you were going to harm them, you
Absolutely
didn't
not.
feed them. I'm trying to think, you threw rocks at them, you didn't let them play Fortnite, something?
No, I simply went to his bus stop and let him know.
Something you've done before.
Oh, yeah.
And you've done all the time, and
Multiple times, on multiple occasions. It was nothing out of the ordinary for me to go to his bus stop. It was nothing strange for him or scary to him or any of that type of thing at all.
someone said, Sherry said, she's having the same kind of problem.
I'm so sorry for you, Sherry.
So please make sure you inbox us and let us know so that we can connect you and help give you some support. Thank you. Please share though.
So the PPO, I contacted a lawyer that actually she and I had went and met with about my son's accidental death policy. So, and I had used in the past. So I went and contacted the lawyer, took in the PPO, explained to him what had happened, and he basically stated that he didn't believe it would be upheld. So he told me what to do. He said, you need to go up to the courts and file for the paperwork and get a hearing, and so that you can dispute this, and it'll go away. So I went up to the courts. Now, mind you, it probably only took her 2 minutes to obtain the PPO. I was a licensed CPL carrier.
Okay.
I was ordered to immediately relinquish my license before I ever even had a hearing.
No, wait a minute. So you were told to give your license up?
Yes.
You didn't have your pistol with you, did you?
No.
Just as soon as you get there?
Yes. As soon as I was issued the PPO, I was ordered to give up my CPL. So I had to relinquish my CPL and remove all weapons out of my home. And my husband and I are both avid hunters, deer hunters. We couldn't even have a weapon in our home because I had a PPO.
Okay. I believe you.
So we go for the PPO hearing in front of Judge Tomlinson and in his court. And I believe, on my own being naive, this man surely is going to listen to me. He's surely going to let me state my case and show, proof of what I have here in both text messages and in, with witnesses and this sort of thing. And yet, we get in front of him. I sat down, and he asked me if I was asked to stay away from the child. And my answer to that was no. She never told me to stay away from him. She never told me to stop calling. She never told me to stop texting. Actually, she responded to all of the above until she took out the PPO.
So she never gave you forewarning?
No.
She just...
No.
Okay.
So then she had made a claim that I had followed the child home that day, that I had went to the bus stop, which I never did. That is, and in her PPO, if you read it, it states that I was at the bus stop and then proceeded to follow him home. I seen him at the bus stop, that is it. Also stating in her PPO that I was psychologically unstable and on psychotic medication.
So CMH contacted you to prove it, or
no.
Counselors reached out to you?
No.
It had to be proven in some way, shape, form, or fashion, because folks tell me I'm crazy all the time.
Oh no. And I wasn't on anything, nor have I been on anything. But
Okay.
that wasn't brought up in court neither, nor was I allowed to permit that. And with the HIPAA laws in place, how can she even make these statements
Without it being
without
verified?
it being verified? And with HIPAA laws in place, it's not verifiable unless I authorize it.
So now the judge then immediately ordered a psych eval.
No, nothing was ordered.
Okay.
I was simply told, there was a Facebook post that I had made, and I said it's pretty sad that I have to sneak to go see my grandson at his bus stop to give him a hug, tell him I love him, and I ask about him.
So you said you have to sneak to go see your grandson, not naming names, just grandson, and so based upon all upon assumption that proved you were unstable and all of those things.
Yes.
If you would stay right there,
Okay.
and then you're going to get a chance to come back and finish. I want to move to the end. Kind sir, you've been waiting so patiently. Would you introduce yourself and share your story? And then the reason why I wanted to give a snippet is because I wanted your audience to know that this is probably their story as well. And then you're going to get a chance to kind of share more of the details on how the system, how your interactions, because again, 2017, that was different administration. There might be better people, may not, but we have to figure out what's going on so we can engage. But sir, would you introduce yourself and tell your story?
Yep, my name is Howard Bennett. I think all of our stories are very similar with Ty's. I've been going through the system for, I think, since 2012. It started with a divorce, but I noticed right away that I tended to get railroaded a lot.
Okay.
Every time you hit a roadblock, railroad, don't want to hear what you have to say, don't listen to you. They already know what they want to do. And as the longer you're there, you start to see the same names, you see the same people, you see the same situations. I've had 3 different very good lawyers in there, and every one of them looks at me and shake their head, and their exact words are, "This guy does not like you." And that's their words.
That's their professional opinion.
That's what you get to deal with.
Yep.
They don't like you, and I struggle with that. I've obviously started with my children being younger, and then it ended up being my parenting time being taken away, and then it was I get to see my kids every other weekend, and then now it's to a PPO. Where it's a very frivolous PPO at that, just like the rest
Hold
of
on
them.
1 second, right where you are. Gloria just said, my son was under a court order in Tomlinson's court, and he died while a court order was not upheld. And that was Gloria's story. So
Wow.
keep going, sir.
Well, it just never ends, but I'm looking at names here, and I think I have a lot of similarities with their situation that my ex-wife come from a wealthy, very well-known family, and they have political ties. I see names, just, I guess I don't know if I should even say the names, but
You don't have to.
we'll leave the names out. But the intermingling of these people, it was told to me a long time ago, it's like the good old boy club up in Port Huron. It's the good old boy club, and it is. It's true.
It's true.
But it goes all the way down to local people, to, you know, the middle of the system, and then you got the people in the courtroom that, I mean, the guy won't even hear a word out of my mouth. It doesn't matter. It's frivolous, frivolous, frivolous. They can go in there. I mean, I'm trying to watch what I say.
It's okay.
It's always a one-sided event. Like I said, I've been put in jail for what did I get put to jail for? Probably contempt of court several times.
So you threatened somebody?
Oh no.
You threw something at the judge?
No, absolutely not. I just don't get along with my ex-wife. I don't agree with her. So that turned into taking my parenting time away, all because I don't get along with her. I'm a great father. She's probably even said it on the stand. You know, great father. I provide. I pay my child support. I split all my extracurricular. I do all this stuff, but I just don't get along with her, and that's why I got divorced.
Any influence?
But he seems to think I'm going to get along better with her now and just agree to whatever she wants me to do, and I don't have to agree with that. But in hindsight, I've been railroaded, and it's, again, I see all the same names. It's a joke. So I don't know. I guess without getting too into detail with people's names and how they know each other, and it's an intertwined web of mess of people up here that.
And it's generational, and it's incestuous. The St. Clair County justice system is the most incestuous thing I've ever seen. And all the people you're supposed to go to for help are the ones that are tied to the ones doing it.
A lot of people
There
don't
is
even
no
know.
help.
A lot of people have no idea how these people are all intertwined.
Until you're forced
So you
into
start
the
looking
system.
into
It's
it.
just like unbelievable.
You wouldn't even believe that this can happen.
Yeah.
No, and I think, like, I'm probably gonna say this, and all of you will relate to it. When it does happen, and it is you, and you come out of that courtroom feeling lower than low, beneath the dirt, underneath your feet, because that's how these judges made me feel. The judge made me feel when I walked out, and you're just dumbfounded as to what just happened.
Right.
Yeah,
What just happened to me?
Every time
It
you
takes
walk
you
out.
to figure it out.
It does.
Yeah.
It takes like
It does,
2-3 days just to even
I came from a
put it
bad
together a little
situation,
bit.
but then to have a judge,
Yeah,
and I felt lower than garbage.
it's
I
like
had no
terrorists.
confidence as it was, but then she's smiling, acting like he's a saint, and he committed all these crimes, and I'm afraid of him, but she just belittled me.
Yeah.
She bullied
Yes.
me.
Yes.
I mean, the things she said to me. And then she would grant these orders, and by the time after he didn't pick up the appropriate charges, but he still got charged originally with aggravated stalking, pled down to stalking, and tampered with the motor vehicle, which that was a setup to the prudent. But anyways, she would actually, he had a tether on, but he would ask for these things, like to, a walk, it sounds innocent from a normal, divorce, walk through of my home. And I would panic because I was afraid of him. And my attorney would say, he's from out of the area, no judge is gonna grant that, no judge is gonna grant that. And my PTSD would be going. Sure enough, there's Judge Lane granting a walk through my home, and I'm like, oh my, I'm afraid of him. He's already tampered. It shows how cold and calculated, he set up my car, you know what I mean? And I always knew, that's why I never left for over 20 years. He was very controlling, and I had that fear of me all the time. That he would, I knew what he was capable of, I knew what he would do, try to kill me, and he did. But then everything that Dana Vandrew would get Judge Lane, and they were in on it, believe me, all these, I call them sick games on me.
Behind the scene conversations.
Yeah, and in fact, I started realizing that when I was in the courtroom, it looked almost like a play, like they all had, you know what I mean?
They all role
Have a
play.
role.
Yeah,
Yep.
like they already knew what was going down on me, and I was always like, what game's going down on me today?
Yep.
And they would say all these lies about me, and I'd be like, and I had to prepare, because at first I used to go by myself with my attorneys, and I had to prepare my family, my own mother, like, Mom, you know me, what you hear today, I'm not allowed to say, I said, it's gonna be a lot of lies, and it's gonna be hurtful, But that's what I deal with. I mean, she was just horrible. She'd rip me apart. I mean, she'd tell me I was living it up, and I'm like, I'm living in fear. You know, lucky to be alive.
Right.
And even through the walkthrough, I was afraid. I couldn't call my local police department because I didn't trust any of them anymore.
The walkthrough. Say more about that.
It was to act like it was innocent. Like just walk through the home and look. You know, because I was the one living in there. He wasn't. And those. My story's massive. And she was even trying to kick me out of the house a couple times, Dana Andrew. But anyways.
And then again is.
What's that?
Who is she again?
His
She's an
attorney.
attorney that
She works
with
corruptly.
Fletcher,
Yeah.
Falco, and Shouty.
Trying to kick you out.
Yeah, they would do these, well, she put lies on record saying that, the neighbors, there's sworn witness statements that I harass his employees. And I'm like, he only has one cash paid employee.
Now they said there were sworn witness statements.
Yes, but she said neighbors, but these were never produced.
So, but you have the right to face your accuser.
But we weren't allowed to say anything.
No, not in that courtroom.
And Judge Lane was in on it, believe me. But guess my next door neighbor, it's gonna sound, I could write a book when I'm all done with this. Actually, he stalks for my ex, okay? He's had a surveillance camera since December 16th. He has a different one now, it's more focused on my house. And
Right now.
yes, and it's also Dana Vandrew's client.
Like right now.
Yes.
Like that's happening.
Well,
Like
now he changed it so it looks just like it's on my driveway, but he acts like it's for his ex.
Security.
It's a story.
Security.
It's Dana Vandrew's client too, and his mother is retired from the courthouse. I didn't know that. That's how my ex got Dana Vandrew. But anyways, where's I going with this? Well, yeah, she said the sworn witness statements and acting like I need to be kicked, you know, out of the house, whatever.
because you're doing whatever.
Yeah,
she's
they're
accusing
always
you.
making up, you know, a lot.
And
There's a
can't
lot of
produce anything.
truths.
And see, the problem that we have normally, and with people that are watching this may not understand, that a lie can be a fact or be the truth until it's challenged.
Yeah.
And this is what they're doing. They're challenging these statements publicly. So you have the right to face your accuser. You have the right to ask questions. You have the right to get full understanding until you're satisfied. But you all didn't get that opportunity.
No, we weren't allowed to.
It's always a one-sided event.
Right.
It's-
Yeah.
It
If
was,
they don't want to allow you to talk, you don't.
As I
talk.
said,
No,
my attorney.
there is no due
I've been
process.
threatened with contempt. My attorney's been, you know.
I was told after the PPO was upheld that I was no longer allowed to post anything or discuss or mention my grandchild or her, his mother, or my granddaughter on any type of social media or anything, or I would be held
In contempt.
in contempt and it would be a PPO violation
And put you in jail.
and I would go to jail.
Yeah.
When I walked out of the courtroom, I asked my attorney, this can't be it. There has to be something else I can do. Like, I have to uphold this. And it's not even right. It's not even just. I have text messages miles long of this girl interacting with me, being very mean, cruel,
Being everything she
hurtful.
accused you of.
Exactly. And yet I come out of here with a PPO and have to abide by these rules that this judge has set forth. And if I don't, I could go to jail.
And you produced all of that.
I wasn't allowed to. It was in my attorney's
Binder.
binder and in his possession, but we were not given the opportunity
space to speak.
to even bring any of that forward.
They like make records. of
She
what's
made so many false accusations against me, but nobody would listen to me. And the PPO for her was not the end of it. I filed for grandparent rights. I lost those as well.
So you lost your grandparents' rights.
Yes. She also sued me later on for monies when she didn't pay a penny for a funeral. So I did this for 2 years in this court system to the point where I emotionally, mentally, and physically could not
Exhausted.
continue the
Yeah.
path that I was
Exhausted.
going and have healthy relationships with the rest of my family and children and grandchildren that I still have at my
In your life.
reach
Your
in my life.
You still have them.
It was starting to affect them.
So the reason why you're hearing this is because this may be your story, and you need to share your story. awareness, number one. That's the reason why we're doing this, is number one, awareness. You need to know that there are people that are willing. But then the next thing is my favorite step. It's called advocacy. What do we do? Because it seems like we're crying in a closed-in room, right? The idea is that somebody or someone's are willing to stand with you, and then we can organize. That's where we make things happen. I'll give you a quick story real quick. There were 12 pastors down in the Wayne area. And during the time where there was a bunch of damage, we were sharing this, there was a bunch of damage to homes because of storms. And then there was a lot of federal money that was released, but the state didn't turn it loose. Just like very few people know this. I don't know how many Trump supporters I may have out here. But one of the things that Trump did when he first got in office, he actually released $150 million to Flint. And not many people knew that because it wasn't reported. But it was held up at the state level because there was an argument between other senators about the sinkhole in Macomb. And they said, we'll let them poison themselves until we figure out the $3 million sinkhole issue in Macomb. But when these three pastors came together and they went up, they were able to negotiate the release of those funds for the state of Michigan so that people can get their homes fixed and renewed. But what it took was a clear message, an organized approach, and clear demands. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to identify specifically what we want, and we know how to get it. And it's not through the system, but it's through the people. It's bringing the people to these systems because you can't turn them down. You can turn a person down, but you can't turn your tax base down. You can't turn your constituents down, because it's not about voting them in or out, but it's about removing them from office because it's your right and taking their power. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if you all, we are at about the 10 o'clock mark. I'm grateful for you guys that have come. Would you each give a statement or something that you want each person to know?
I got something that's on the tip of my tongue real quick about the PPO thing. That's
Go for it.
really boggles me. They filed a PPO against me, but the person filing it, what I find is amusing, can contact you and still contact you.
Right.
And they can come to your premises and they're scared for their life, but that's okay.
Right.
So if this stuff's all true, if you feel endangered and threatened and all this, why the contact?
Well, I'll tell you, this is what
It's a
Judge
setup.
Talmadge will tell you.
It's a setup.
They're baiting you.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely,
Just
they
respond
keep
to
it
me.
going.
Just respond to me one time so I can put you in jail.
And that's how it goes. And Judge Tomlinson will tell you.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a PPO against her.
Correct. But
And that's
they
the
should
end of
not
the
be
story.
contacting you then.
And
if
that
you're
we're
threatened.
dealing that with right now.
But
It's
compare
being slandered all over the
Tell you how
internet.
corrupt it is. Your frivolous PPOs. My ex is on probation, and you have a judge deny, and he attempted murder on us. He was originally charged with aggravated stalking. In fact, he picked up his criminal charges on the active PPO, and she denies the PPO.
It's the good old boy club. They pick and choose, and it's all about who they know, and
Oh,
that's
it
how
is.
you're going to suffer.
He's actually, and you guys, it sounds like you've all been, they use the PPOs to throw you in jail. He uses police. I've been interrogated by state police. I've had the neighbor help him, act like I'm doing something wrong and I'm not. The next thing the police are coming, they know they're gonna do though. Telling me to come outside, I've done something criminal. I mean, and just so many different times I've shared with Kevin, and like his story's like, wow, that's the same. I can relate to him. I'm like, there's so many different things. I had a police pull me over, hoping I'm doing something wrong. And he's had people file false police reports on me. I think one of them might have been a felony. I don't know, but I have a good attorney, thankfully. But trying to put you in jail, I mean, it sounds unbelievable, people, because you think, well, you must have done something wrong. It's like, no, I've done nothing wrong.
Anytime
It's like they're trying to flip it, though. You know what I mean? Like, he belongs in jail.
Anytime I have mentioned that I have a PPO taken out on me, everybody says the first words out of that person's mouth is, well, what did you do?
Right.
That's
Right.
it.
What
Exactly.
did you do?
You're now a
What
criminal.
did you do?
He kept calling police at my house. So then you got everybody down the road. Oh,
What did you do?
doing? I'm like, I didn't do anything.
It's upsetting because anyone that actually truly knows me knows I'll be as bold as to say, if this girl literally came knocking on my door and said, I've had enough, can we mend this? I would open my door in my arms and bring her and my grandchildren back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
After everything she's done Everything she said to me, because at the end of the day, what's important to me is having that family.
Right.
And family's all that any of us have. And me being a child that grew up without having a father, my biological father in my life, I have a wonderful stepfather. But without having a biological father in my life and missing that missing piece and wondering your whole life, where did that piece go? Is just, it blows my mind that she would do this to my grandson. Or that she would do this to us as a family. Like, why would you do this? I don't understand.
The only group that you're a threat to are deers. Humans are okay, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
The politics need to be pulled out of St. Clair County. That's all there is to it. The politics need to be removed,
It's gonna
and
get
the black and white judicial system should be, that is what it should be. It's black and white.
Right.
It's not, I think they said this or she said that. That's nothing. It's black and white, people.
Right.
It's not however they decide they want to rule today.
The law is free of reason.
It's
There you
black
go.
and white.
The law should be free of reason. That's what they teach them.
Exactly.
And
That's how we learned.
yes, but the problem is, again, until you open your mouth and
Exactly.
organize, and that's why we're organizing. So thank you for sharing that. Jamie, what are you going to say?
I appreciate you all coming out. And if there is anybody else out there that wants to use their voice out here, contact us, come on board. Let's
Come on
do
the
this.
Justice for Oaklei page. Tell them that you want to share, and we'll get you in here, because we're not done hearing from. We need to hear your individual stories, and we need to make sure, because we're going to now do some next steps. Vanessa, what would you say to the people?
I just want to say that justice system is not the best for our county anyways. It is not what you think it is. And this is not how it should be. It needs to be exposed, and that's why I'm actually a very quiet person, but after I gained my voice in my situation, I'd get angry, and the more I kept hearing stories about it, I'm still going through the system myself, but it just makes me angry that I hear it's still happening, and it's gonna keep happening. It's gonna get worse and worse.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Indeed. Any closing statements?
I just think, I wish that more people that are experiencing this would get their voice and come forward and share their stories. I, for one, never seen myself in this position. I never seen myself being on this end of all of the court system and that sort of thing. And I know there's others out there that go through this, that are going through it or have already went through it. Don't give up. As I said, I did after 2 years, only because I needed to take a step back. I didn't give up, I stepped back. And I'm doing it not only for myself, but I did it for my grandson, because I can't imagine, the pain that I'm putting him through by continuing the whole court battle thing. So I had to take a step back and take a breather. But the PPO shouldn't be used to tear families apart. They should be used for what they're intended for, which is a personal protection order. That means if there is a threat of harm, not to rip a parent out of a child's life, not to keep a grandparent away from a grandchild, or any other family member away from a family member. That's not what PPOs were intended for, and we need to get back to what they were truly for, which was to protect the personal safety of individuals. And until we get back to that and people are actually allowed to state their cases and show evidence and bring proof, or the people that are filing for these are forced to bring proof and state their case. Prove what you're stating.
And be held accountable.
And be held accountable
they
when it's not.
have manipulated the system
Exactly.
to get what they want.
Absolutely.
And people need to be held accountable when they do this,
Exactly.
because it is not supposed to be a sword and a shield. That is
Absolutely.
not what they're supposed to be used for. And there are people out there that are in danger, that are not granted one every day in St. Clair County. I can show you the text, I can show you the threats, and they are not issued one every day up there.
So according to the courts,
Right.
while you criminals are getting PPOs, there are people that actually
Yeah.
are criminals
Right.
that aren't getting anything.
Yeah.
And while there are all kind of offenders out there, they're not getting the type of attention that you all have
Right.
gotten.
Right.
So
Okay.
here's our response. So I want you all to please sign a petition. And as you sign that petition, and you also have a story, please reach out to us, and we're going to make sure that we move forward with that. Also, tomorrow, there's going to be a special announcement because we need to keep the energy moving. Not this weekend, but the following weekend, we're going to have a rally of all of you all that have supported and wanted to share your story. And I'm going to show you all how we're going to organize and get justice for not only these four that are here, because first and foremost, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to share any hearings or court dates that you have coming up, because it is perfectly legal for you to come and sit and watch your judicial system at work. Yep. So if any of them are coming to any court system or any court dates, you all who are supporting it right now, you should be there present to support. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to cheer, boo, none of that. You just need to be there and be present and be supportive, because I'm telling you, there's power in numbers. Right. And on tomorrow, to also let you know, there's another tangible way at 10 a.m. at Zion Cathedral Praise on 3003 Moak Street. We're having a SCORE meeting. That's St. Clair County Organizing for Regional Equity. And we are going to be meeting, and we're going to be organizing specifically around this initiative as well, so that we can bring more organized power, more organized money, and an organized approach to this. So I'm grateful for those of you that have joined us. I pray that God would bless you, meet every need in your life. And again, my challenge is always to pastors is, if all you're doing is just having services on Sunday, you're missing the element of justice. We need to stand up for people, because there are people in your congregations that are going through this issue. And instead of just praying, you could pray and show up and do something for them. And so if you're out there and you need help, inbox us. We'll stand with you. We'll encourage you. We'll make sure you're not alone. And we thank you guys so much for joining us. And trust me, you're going to hear more from them. So look for our live tomorrow, probably 9 a.m. again. Yep. We'll be back here again, and listen for it. Follow the page and be blessed.
Thank you.